This is another video that exists solely to hold true to the title of this series and the intro song of ranking and reviewing every coaster that I've been on, even if they're boring. I'm gonna rank every coaster and give them my review. Every drop and every hill, every launch and every loop. Rate it 1 to 10 and then we'll do it all again. Gonna rank and review every coaster. So, Vekoma Junior coasters are some of the best family coasters out there, specifically for first-time or just significantly less experienced coaster riders. They typically have enough twists and turns to keep riders engaged, but most importantly, the rides are smooth and comfortable. And the reason this is even notable, some other kiddie or family coasters may be similar in scale and appear to be very accessible to all riders, but they oftentimes provide abrupt transitions that can catch a first-time rider off guard, and quite frankly, they may never want to ride another coaster again due to the unexpected high intensity of these supposed kiddie or family coasters. So Vekoma Junior coasters are less exciting for thrill seekers, but much better for their target demographic. And I think this extends beyond just my opinion, as there are numbers to back this up, with over 100 Vekoma Junior coasters being built. This model has several different types of layouts, and they've been cloned all over the world. As of now, I personally have only been on a mere 8 of these coasters, of 3 different layout variations, so let's go ahead and look at each one. First up, we have the 85-meter layout, which is not very popular at all, with just 2 built, which pales in comparison to the overall number of junior coasters out there. The single 85-meter junior coaster that I have been on is Streamliner coaster at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. This coaster was formerly known as Kiddee coaster, which is what I still thought it was until I looked it up today. And this coaster really is the epitome of a starter coaster. It has a length of just 278 feet, which is 85 meters. What a coincidence! That's the name of the layout. It has a height of roughly 10 feet, a top speed of 14 miles per hour. At least that's according to Fiesta Texas's website, but I'd be shocked if this ride goes over 10. I mean, just look at it. That's not going 14 miles per hour, right? Streamliner has a ride duration of 22 seconds if you exclude the lift hill time, but that is including the 2 cycles as the coaster goes around the layout twice. Speaking of the layout, it is as simple as it gets, as it is just an oval with some very small hills, which is perfect for getting kids familiar with what riding a coaster is like. This coaster does have a fun little setting, partially over water, and in said water, there's some koi fish, so that's fun. This coaster is about as good of a first coaster as you could find, thus about as far away from what I'm looking for in a coaster, landing it a rating of 2 out of 10 for me personally, despite being a 10 out of 10 first coaster. Streamliner ranks at number 254 out of the 273 coasters I have been on. Moving on up in scale, the next layout we have is the 207-meter layout. These are much more popular, with well over 20 floating around out there. I personally have been on 5, and here are the stats of these coasters. 207 meters is just about 680 feet. This layout has a height of 28 feet, a speed of 200, nope, definitely not. Thought Fiesta Texas was embellishing. A speed of 22 miles per hour, and a ride duration of roughly 26 seconds when excluding the lift hill. The layout of this model is still quite tame, but significantly more exciting than the prior. The first drop is pretty shallow, only dipping about halfway to the ground, yet this already feels significantly faster than your top speed on the 85-meter model. The coaster then progressively loses elevation, helping maintain fairly consistent speed. That combined with the relatively quick changes in direction, at least for a kiddie coaster, and the small hills, contributes to great pacing and a ride that is sure to be exciting enough for younger riders. While the ride overall is relatively void of any notable forces, the final helix is actually tight enough to provide the smallest helping of positive G's, and the unbanked turn going back into the station is taken quickly enough by the front half of the train to provide some unexpected lateral forces scooting you to the right. This model is definitely a good first coaster as well, but in my mind I view it as the perfect second coaster or step-up coaster, because it does introduce you to some faster speeds and a tiny bit of forces. It's also still super smooth and comfortable, so it's really not going to put any kid off of riding roller coasters again. Now let's get into each specific 207 meter coaster. Starting off on the bottom, we have Woody Woodpecker's Nuthouse coaster at Universal Studios Florida, which is now defunct, just recently removed earlier this year. To be honest, this is only lowest ranked because I like coasters that I can ride as opposed to ones that I can't. In addition to all the standard 207 stuff, this coaster has a nice cartoonish appearance that, if anything, maybe looked a bit dated, but it was still fun. I give it a 3.5 out of 10. It's a pretty standard family coaster with slightly better than average theming, and I'm obviously still not the target demographic for this coaster. It ranks at number 242 out of 273, as it is at least significantly more exciting than Streamliner. Heading on over to this place, we have Roller Skater at Kentucky Kingdom. I do think this coaster has a nicer setting, as it is in some relatively dense trees with a creek running underneath. There's pretty much no theming on this ride, however. I mean, I guess it does have the roller skate trains, but nothing notable. I'm not a huge fan of the all yellow color of this ride either, but this coaster is operating, which means I can ride it, so that's a huge plus. Still, overall, it gets the same rating as Nuthouse Coaster, 3.5 out of 10, and it ranks just one spot higher at number 241. Heading to my home Six Flags park, we have Roadrunner Express at Magic Mountain, and this is one of the cooler coasters on the list. Roadrunner Express was relocated from Six Flags New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, and is one of only 2 coasters saved from that park. However, the theming for this coaster, surprisingly enough, is what makes it better than the last 2. This has more theming than most of Six Flags Magic Mountain, dare I say even all the other coasters. You have some really nice rock work, as well as cartoonish cacti cutouts, and multiple Coyote and Roadrunner figures. In addition to the minimal theming, the ride also does just look good with a black and red paint scheme. Coaster-wise, it definitely still runs the exact same as the other 2, but I do like it more. However, it does still get a 3.5 out of 10, and it ranks at 240. Taking theming up a couple of notches, we have Chip and Dale's Gadget coaster at Disneyland. And this used to be named Gadget's Go Coaster for the longest time, and I did not know that it even changed to its current name until today. This ride did recently get a refresh along with the name change and along with the Toontown area of the park that this coaster is placed in, but more or less the coaster is the same, with the exception of a couple of characters being added and a vibrant repaint. In my opinion, the rock work and water are what really make this ride shine. Going through that tunnel does make the ride more exciting because of perceived speed, and then you also have a couple water features that you loop around as well. The ride vehicles themselves are also themed, giving a cartoonish acorn appearance. On the more negative side of things, since this coaster is located at a Disney park, it gets ridiculously long waits because there is only one train, so it is totally not worth going on this ride unless the line is somehow short. I will still only give this ride a 3.5 out of 10, as it is essentially the same as all the others, but I do have to shout out the fantastic setting that contributes dramatically to the ride. It ranks at 239. Taking a massive step back in the theming department, but a massive step up overall, we have Merlin's Revenge at Castle Park. This is the worst setting of any of the coasters on this list, and it has almost no theming, with this Merlin statue being the only thing, but it is literally twice the coaster experience, because you go around the layout twice. I would definitely prefer if this coaster had a better setting or theming like the other coasters do, but again, it's literally twice as long of a coaster. The ride duration is about 42 seconds excluding the 2 times you're on the lift hill, so I think that alone makes it better. Merlin's Revenge gets a slightly higher rating of 4 out of 10, and it ranks 5 spots higher at 234. That's it for the 207 meter coasters. Now we're going to take a significant step up in scale and look at the 335 meter layout. For one final metric to imperial conversion, 335 meters is roughly 1,100 feet. These coasters have a height of 43 feet, a top speed of 29 miles per hour, with a ride duration of roughly 32 seconds when excluding the lift hill, which is the longest ride duration aside from the 2-cycle 207 meter coasters. The layout of these rides have the same trends as the 207 meter models. There's just more to the 335 meter, and it is of course slightly larger. The first drop is definitely a bit longer and you pick up considerably more speed by the bottom, but it's definitely far from too intense for younger riders. The turns throughout the ride also happen a little bit faster, occasionally sliding you around the tiniest bit. Especially if you're sitting towards the back of the train, that's where you're really going to find any slight hint of forces, if there are some. All in all, this truly is just a bigger version of the 207 layout. I do still think it is an acceptable first coaster, even though it is larger. It is still smooth, has comfy transitions. I maybe just wouldn't recommend this for the absolute youngest of coaster riders, or if you're someone that is just, for whatever reason, terrified of coasters. Now let's head on over to Cedar Point to look at Woodstock Express specifically, which is the less impressive of these two coaster layouts that I have been on. This coaster does have a nice appearance with a brown color scheme that really fits the Camp Snoopy aesthetic of the surrounding area and rides, although there is minimal theming. I, however, really do like the cute trains that are, well, train themed, and I love the cute little Woodstock conductor on the front of the train. The train does have a working bell that rings as the ride moves around, which is surely fun for kids, but admittedly a tad annoying for myself. Essentially, this is a cute ride that is worth doing if there's no line. It gets a 4 out of 10 and ranks at 227. And last but not least, we have Flight of the Hippogriff at Universal's Islands of Adventure. This is easily the best coaster in the video. We once again have a very nice setting, as this coaster is located in Hogwarts, and during the ride you actually get to see the Hogwarts castle in the background. In addition to that, there are also plenty of trees, as well as a decent amount of theming pre-ride. Through the queue line, you do get to see Hagrid's hut, and my favorite aspect of this specific coaster, the Buckbeak animatronic at the end of the loading station. And honestly, Buckbeak alone makes this coaster better than all the other junior coasters. Flight of the Hippogriff also has the best operations of all the coasters on this list by far, as this coaster operates with 2 trains as opposed to 1. And by the way, these trains also contribute to the theming as they look like wicker baskets, which is not something you see very often. On the negative side, despite having 2 trains, you will still find this coaster getting a long wait just because of the popularity of this area of the park and of course the Harry Potter IP. To switch back over to the positives, I do feel like this coaster does just run a tad faster. I don't know if that's maybe because the coaster runs more cycles or because of the Florida heat, or maybe I'm just imagining things and have drank too much butterbeer. Either way, this is of course a very solid family coaster, getting a rating of 4 out of 10 and ranking at number 226 out of the 273 coasters I've been on. But that does it for my thoughts. Let me know what y'all think of Vekoma Junior coasters. Thank you so much for watching this video and sticking to the end. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe and turn on notifications for more content like this. And make sure to tune in next time where I'll be talking about... No, I thought we might finally get a good coaster for a change of pace. Oh well, we're doing every coaster, right?